Whoa. Whoa. Sorry, I have to go close my window. Everything's falling.
Hurricane
Oh my
Gregson.
God.
Hang on, Marie!
But yeah, like,
It's literally a hurricane going on in here.
But-
Oh my God. It blew the dish liquid over. Dish soap.
hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to Shifting Lanes 2. My name's Chad, and today we are talking about, well, what might be the future of shifting lanes. Now, you saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. Don't worry, we will always have a Volvo in the fleet. Greg, by contract, has to own a Volvo at all times or we fire him. So we will always have a Volvo, but the future does hold some crazy exciting things. 700 plus horsepower builds, new sports cars, epic machinery that you guys are definitely going to enjoy. So in the most recent live stream, we talked about what future sports cars in a certain price range that you, me, and everyone can really afford with a little bit of extra work. We talked about which ones we like, and we actually want to get feedback from you. So of the cars we discussed, let me know in the comments which one you would have. And if you want to check out our live streams, head on over to the Shifting Lanes Facebook page or Shifting Lanes Live on YouTube, both of which I will link in the description below. And when you like the video, guys, give us a thumbs up, share it with a friend, or ring the bell so you don't miss any of our content here on the second channel, whether it be these stream highlights or our project cars, one of which is Greg's V60 Polestar. So when you ring the bell, you get notified and you can enjoy the content. But that's it for me, guys. Enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. We're car guys, right?
Yeah.
Greg Hansen and I, we talk every day. In addition to just being business partners, we're car guys. So it's like, we're talking about getting this car, we're talking about getting that car, all those sort of things. We need your help. But in addition to being car people, we're also content creators. So like, why don't you guys, we want to run through a few cars that we're thinking about potentially maybe buying at some point, you know, maybe soon, maybe a little down the road. So we're looking at, you know, sports cars. Greg, I think you kind of made this list. So right now what we have, I know it looks like a mid-engine British sports car. Well, actually, that's our old Aston Martin.
For some reason, that photo looks photoshopped. I don't know why. That's a real
Yeah,
photo.
Greg, why don't you actually run through the list, because we have the, like we normally do, we have a slideshow kind of going on, and kind of go through there.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about each one.
So the list runs as the C8 Corvette, the C6 Z06 Corvette, which you're seeing right now, a 911, because 911, it's literally the sports car benchmark, a Shelby Mustang GT350R, Alfa Romeo 4C, Jaguar F Type R, Lotus Evora, or Aston Martin V8 Vantage. You can pick up any of these for between 50 to 100 grand, and that would be an amazing thing if any of us could spend that kind of money on a sports car at any point in time. You can pick up some of these for even cheaper than that. C6 Z06s, you can find them in the 30s and 40s right now. Alfa Romeo 4Cs, they're between $45,000 to $60,000 depending on what you look at. Jaguar F Types, you can find them as cheap as $45,000 right now. All the way up to, you know, the new ones, which are 100 plus. Lotus Evora, the newer ones are like $100,000 and $120,000 for like the GT models, but older ones, the Evora 400s, you can find for in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. Aston Martin V8 Vantage, same thing. Good ones right now you can find between 60 and 70 in this market, but traditionally you can find them between 30 and 50. Personal preference, if I had to make a top 3 on that list in no order, I probably put mine at C6 Z06, probably the F Type on there, and probably the Evora. Oh, and to be clear, we did own an Aston Martin V8 Advantage in the past. That's what you're looking at right now. On this list, this Aston Martin V8 Advantage will be a different car other than that, because we do not own it anymore.
Right. So my top 3, if we're just looking at this list, so I'll just go through the cars I would immediately eliminate right off the bat. Lotus Evora, F Type, and believe it or not, the C8. There's just something about the C8 that doesn't really do it for me. Another one on there that I'd probably have to get rid of is the 4C, because Alfa Romeo's like, just, it's built like an exotic with the engine from a compact, like, you know what I mean? Like, so you're gonna have exotic car problems, and even though it goes and it's fun, it's a really fun vehicle, it's just, I've sat in one and I don't really need that in my life right now. In no particular order, the Z06, the 911, and the 350R. Shelby Mustang. To be brutally honest, I don't even think if we're talking about next cars, next builds, next things like that, I know I own a Mustang. I know the GT350 is an amazing piece of engineering. But at the end of the day, my Mustang's going to look better, sound better, and go better. I'm not really going to need something just because it has a Voodoo in it.
Yeah,
and
right.
The Voodoo is, from an engineering perspective, an amazing thing, engineering feat that Ford did, right? That engine, 5.2 liters at the time, one of, if not the biggest flat plane V8s ever made.
Yeah.
The fact that they managed to make it flat plane and not have it sound like a Ferrari or even the new Z06 it still sounded like it still had a throaty tone to it. I think was an amazing piece of engineering. Mm-hmm. Anytime an American V8 revs over 8,000 RPM, you're shocked and amazed and things like that. The stock Coyote can rev to 7,500 RPM, so you get 95% of the thrill of a high revving V8 with none of the therefore downsides that cool. a Voodoo brings. Considered, to be 100% honest, is something in the GT family, probably a GT3 or even a Touring or things like that, because those 4-liter flat sixes are the best sounding 6 cylinders. I mean, find me a better sounding one. You can't. The 992s, all of them, in what are the best looking Porsches, 911 specifically, ever made. That would be a lot of fun, but on the flip side, those aren't exactly affordable right now. It's a little bit, that's like the dream. So really what that leaves is the C6 Corvette, specifically the C6 Z06. That C6 Z06 was a game changer. 7-liter LS7 V8, 500 plus horsepower, magnesium cradle, fully modern at the time suspension, aerodynamics, aluminum parts for lightweight in the body and things of that nature. It dominated racing for a ton of time. And LS7s, you can get over 650 horsepower. I mean, that's all you need in a car that weighs so little. My vote for best looking Corvette.
Oh, I agree.
You do some subtle body mods to it to give it a little bit more attitude. I mean, of this list, that's the one that's both obtainable and from what all of it does. I mean, the only downside to that car is the interior. Well, let's face it. How often do you look at your interior when you're having fun driving your car?
And you can update interiors. You can get new seats. You can carbon fiber things. You can do whatever whatever's needed. It's it's something that can be changed. It's not something that should be a deal breaker unless it's like your daily driver and you're like every time you get in you're like, man, I wish this interior was more nice. Then it's probably not the car for you. You probably should go with an F Type or something like that. The best value for money on this list for sure is the C6 Z06. But from a collector's aspect, they didn't make a metric ton of Z06s. They made, I want to say, in the entirety of the C6 platform, they made, I don't know, 10,000 of them, maybe. I have to go back and look at the numbers. My numbers are very wrong. But from 2010 through 2013, the numbers are drastically smaller because they made way more Grand Sports than they did anything else. They actually made more Grand Sports from like 08 through the end of the run in 2013 than they did base models, which spoke to like how people like the looks of the Z06. Of all of these, I agree with you. I'd probably choose the Z06 if it was boiled down to it. The F Type R though, that's probably, if I'm choosing between a couple of them, the F Type is really high on my list. I think it's an all-time great design car. It's fast. It's got 550 horsepower out the gate, and you can put pulleys on it and tune it from Velocity AP, and people are getting 680 at the crank, which is awesome. For me, it's probably between the Z06 and the F Type R. For value, the Z06 wins for sure because Jaguars don't really hold their value over time.
One thing I actually forgot. I can't believe I forgot about this because this is actually something I do think about quite a lot. The Vantage. I would buy that car because even really good example or decent examples of it right now are in the 40 to 50 range. I would look for one, believe it or not, with where the motor has left the chat, i.e. a blown motor. Because one, that AJ that comes in it can't really do much to. You can supercharge it, but we were talking about shortening the lifespan of an
$25,000.
$25,000, and you really run the risk of that motor just saying no. Like, forget it, I'm out. No, really. And it got me thinking, okay, the AJ is a dual overhead cam V8. They put a V12 in these things. Would a Coyote fit? The V12 made, I think, between 500 and 600 horsepower, if memory serves, in that car. The V12 Vantage.
So which one?
Your generation.
I want to say 510.
So that's easily achievable with a Coyote. The Coyote with long tubes sounds epic. You know, it's not like you're sacrificing sound, and you have a much more reliable, fun engine. I don't want crazy horsepower in this thing, because this car is just as fun to drive at 10 miles an hour as it is 100 miles an hour.
Best performance value in this, I'd say, is actually the C8, which is why I just wanted to mention that, because like the C6 Z06 aside, which is a great performance bargain, but best performance value, I think, is the C8, because the platform, I mean, the base ones, we're doing 0 to 60 in the low 3 seconds. That's bananas from a car that's less than 100 grand.
I mean, engineering wise, that's an amazing piece of kit. We're reading everything, but it's no manual. Again,
yeah, I wouldn't get
manual again. You know, I don't go to the track a ton. I'd like to fix that problem, but I don't go to a ton, so I don't need the fastest thing. And engagement is what I'm about. I want to feel engaged. I want to feel like, okay, that thing accelerated through the gears, and I did it.
Antoine has an interesting question. What if you upgraded the V8 Vantage to that same generation of V12 that you were just talking about? What's the price of the V12 manual going for if you were lucky to find one or get one? You can find, it really depends. If you find a manual V12 Vantage S, you're looking anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 right now. They have gone way up in value. It is stupid how much money those are going for. A manual V12 Gen 1 that doesn't have the S attached to it, anywhere between $80,000 to $130,000 depending on mileage and depending on condition. Manual V8 Vantages you can find for between $50,000 and $60,000 right now in this market with with decent mileage on it. V12s you're probably going to end up paying double for about the same car.
And that goes back.
So
goes back to my point
lot.
earlier. If you're looking for a car to invest in, find an exotic brand. Make sure it has more than 8 cylinders and has a third pedal.
100%, yeah.
They're just going to go up and climb. No, that would be an interesting swap if you can get an old V12, do that. But I think they had to make a lot of tweaks. Not saying that to put a Coyote in, wouldn't have to make a lot of tweaks. I think there was a lot of chassis tweaks to put the V12 in, if memory serves. I also like the idea of...
Whoa. Sorry, I have to go close my window. Everything's falling.
Hurricane Gregson. But yeah, like...
It's literally a hurricane going on in here.
But,
oh my god. It blew some dish liquid over. Dish soap. Good god. That probably was like a 50-mile-an-hour gust that just came through the window.